Keystone Cuisine goes all over Pennsylvania in search of a good place to eat. Not chain restaurants, but places with unique food and character. Cooper's Seafood House is a landmark and a roadside attraction here in Scranton. It's been operated by the Cooper family since 1948. Sure, it's hard to miss because there is an octopus on top of a pirate ship, but in addition to its unique take on a maritime theme, there are lots of objects and photos to look at while you're waiting for your meal. It's almost a sensory overload. It's a lot to take in. Paul, what you're about to show us now is so huge, I'm sure there are plenty of restaurants that would not be able to display something like this.
We're very fortunate to have a room that, that we could display it's a replica of a baby blue whale. They would be this size when they were born. When we built this room in 1985, we needed something to make it a little bit more unique. So we had our artist go ahead and make a styrofoam and Scranton Times newspaper blue whale.
So the whole thing's made out of styrofoam, so it's pretty lightweight, which is good news for a display that you're going to have around people who are eating their lunch and their dinner.
One thing we didn't figure out was getting it in the room after it was built. So they had to actually cut it up in sections and reinstall it. They did kind of figure it, but it didn't work out. So they had to cut it up and reinstall it here in the room. But again.
And you had to design a special base to display this too.
Yeah. Yeah, even though it's made out of there's steel pipes inside and styrofoam, and Scranton Times newspapers cover it, and then I watched them build. It was pretty impressive.
Look at the detail. Look at that eyeball. And this looks like something worthy of being in a museum, at least in my eye.
Oh, thank you. Larry, this is the original Erie Lackawanna train station. This room and the other room behind me. No one was actually injured with this rhinoceros.
This is enormous. I mean, it looks authentic, but it's not, right?
It's not. No, it's just a replica. But we thought it was so unusual, we had to have it. So.
And some guy on a safari met with a violent end.
Well, he was not injured. His hat was injured. Then, of course, we're George Washington fans. The moose was donated by a woman who no longer wanted it in her house, so we were happy to put it up on the wall.
You can see that was a huge animal.
That was a big
I'm trying to imagine that thing standing right next to us.
Yes.
Yeah, often, Paul, I've noticed that when you get things donated to the restaurant for display, they just don't fit into they literally don't fit into people's homes sometimes.
Yes.
Because they're so large.
Right. Yeah, and it no longer works with their decor, but somehow it all fits in here, even though it really not a seafood-oriented thing. Who doesn't want a buffalo hanging in their house, right?
Everyone should have a buffalo on display.
Exactly.
Well, that's what's cool about a place like Cooper's, is that it's not all maritime, nautical, marine stuff as you would expect. It just goes into a whole bunch of unexpected directions.
Yes. Well said. I like that, Larry. That's exactly what it is.
Now, how about this? Here's another departure. Well, this is at least this has to do with nautical, being at sea, and super popular movie.
Jaws. We all love Jaws. Actually, one of our beer distributors, he said he watches the movie every day.
What?
He does.
I was sure you were going to say every year.
No, every day. He said he watches it. He is just crazy for the movie Jaws, and so are we.
Look at this autographed picture. So that's the real Richard Dreyfuss that autographed that to Cooper.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Wow. I wonder, when was he here? Do you know?
No, he wasn't here. Actually, somebody was at an event that he was there.
Oh, I see. And said, sign this to Cooper.
Yes,
oh, that was nice. That was very thoughtful. Of course, the various parodies on Mad Magazine.
Yes.
And I read Mad Magazine as much as any kid.
Absolutely.
And then look right next door. I mean, there's another cultural touchstone. I would say today this is even bigger than Jaws, is this Star Wars display. Where'd you get this?
This is my nephew Ryan's. These are all his toys when he was growing up. So we had them put into a display.
Now I can see by some of the stuff on the walls that there is not just a childhood connection with things, but a personal connection.
Yeah.
Like take this slot car track.
That was my brother Jack's, and he was the great saver of every toy and every game. If it was not for him, we probably wouldn't have anything because he kept everything in immaculate condition. So, and there it is, and we just decided to put all of our toys on the walls. And I was a model builder, so I built some chips, and the toy guns are mine.
Oh, you're into building models.
Yep, and I love combat, so there's my toy combat.
Did you build the cars, the ships, the monsters? There were all kinds of different models.
Yeah, all sorts of
different.
Yeah, absolutely. There were no, of course, no internet, no video games, so we played board games, and we played with, we built models, and that was our pastime.
So I bet this brought you a lot of hours of enjoyment, this slot car race. And look at the two slots that come together, so if the cars are abreast, you got to crash. So it makes it more exciting.
Exactly. And then over here we have all of our board games. There are 8 children in the family, and that's what we did to keep us occupied, was play board games.
How many of them did you have, Paul? Because I can see on display it looks like at least 20 of them. So I bet you had more.
Yeah, there's probably maybe 100 board games. That's all we did was play board games. So here they are. We put them on the wall. The insides are all in there. My sister had Mystery Date, which was such a popular game, and
I remember there was a song they sang during the commercial. Mystery Date, don't be late. That was a long time ago.
That's right. So
some of the other games are based on popular shows of the day. I mean, I see Welcome Back, Kotter. That's from the 70s. Partridge Family from the 70s.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there's an Untouchables game. That's from the 50s.
That is from the 50s. My brother Mark was born in the 50s, actually 1950.
I'm looking at more of the board games. You got Rin Tin Tin up there. I think he was the first canine superstar.
He was, yeah. Him and Lassie, yes.
Charlie's Angels, also from the 70s.
Yeah.
So, Paul, check out this collection of outboard motors here.
Yeah,
what are the circumstances that brought them here?
Well, my father took us fishing. That's one thing we all did as kids. Every summer, we went fishing. 2 of these outboard motors are ours. Other customers have donated them. I probably have another 5 or 6 in the basement waiting to go up. But it's just something that everything from our childhood we brought into the restaurant. So.
And why did you hang on to these, Paul? I mean, some people would have put them on the curb or given them away or sold them.
Yeah, because they're special to us. Yeah, because my father had them, and there you are. And that just reminds me of when we were children. Like that is exactly what we did. And a lot of stuff does get donated, like the Match Pack collection. Somebody had a Match Pack collection that they just want to donate it, and
that's so interesting.
We give it.
So they're just inspired by coming here and seeing all these other collections, and they asked if you would like to accept their memorabilia.
We love it because they're customers, and I think they love it when they see whatever they've donated. They see it up on the wall, and
oh, it's got to be exciting their next visit when they come back and see the.
Absolutely, yeah. And this one was some woman that had a swizzle stick collection that she wanted to donate, and.
Oh my gosh.
And there it is. We have
and if those swizzle sticks could talk, I mean, and they go back decades, I'm guessing, many decades.
Sure, yeah. You really don't see many of them around anymore, but they're pretty unique.
Paul, the first time I walked in here, one thing I did not expect to see was a collection of toothpaste tubes. Where'd the inspiration for that come from?
Well, we had customers donating stuff, and one of them was toothpaste from their travels around the world.
And that's ordinarily stuff you throw in the trash.
Absolutely, but we decided to make a collection of it, and people are still dropping off tubes of toothpaste. So they're pretty fascinating. A lot of them are from my brother-in-law, who travels a lot. and we just thought they're too cool to not to display.
I noticed the family is always front and center as far as contributing these items to your displays.
Yeah, right.
It's the family, it's the customers,
yes.
And then they come in, they see the display, and they get inspired to build on what you already have.
That's Larry, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what happens.
Cooper's Seafood House started as a station house for the Erie Railroad back in the late 1800s. As railroads declined, the station house was sold and converted into a restaurant. Since 1976, seating increased from 75 to more than 500 seats. That includes a pirate ship, lighthouse, and a dock.
The restaurant was the original section. This bar and the other room were a train station. It was the Erie Lackawanna Railroad Station. It was a passenger station. And then back in the 40s, they turned it into a restaurant, and here we are.
So the tracks came through here, obviously, from the
the tracks were.
So are the tracks still there?
No, they're gone. They were right behind the restaurant. And when we were children, the boxcars used to be there, and we would throw mashed potatoes at them, and
Mashed potatoes. That didn't occur to me that could happen.
Just like snowballs, only mashed potatoes.
Oh, I see.
The leftover mashed potatoes. We have a train that runs around the restaurant that we put up. My two brothers they're engineers. They installed all the track through all the rooms, drilled holes through the walls, and it runs around every 15 minutes. And this has been going since probably 1990. Yeah, and it keeps going every 15 minutes around the track, and we actually have a little counter over there to let people know how many times it's gone around, and the kids do love it.
And as far as adults are concerned, when you see and hear, that's important, you hear a train going around a track, it just has somehow a tranquilizing effect.
It does.
It gives you the feeling that I want to stay in this room for a while.
Yeah.
When you hear that clickety-click of the train.
Yep.
When we came in here this morning, one of the first things I noticed was this large portrait of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, former president. Why the interest? Why put Kennedy up?
Well, he was assassinated on my birthday, November 22nd, 1963. And I've always had a love for Kennedy and everything he did during World War II, PT-109.
And that's the vessel he commanded during
right.
World War II?
That's right. That's the one that was cut in half by the Japanese battleship. And he went ahead and saved the crew. Very heroic.
Yes. Now, you were a little kid when Kennedy was assassinated.
Yeah, 8 years old.
Oh, 8 years old.
Yeah.
So you had some solid awareness of what had happened.
It was my no birthday presents that day. The whole country was just sad. It was just such a sad day. Yes.
So then your parents had to break it to you and said, well, given what's happened to our president today, we can't celebrate your birthday like we usually do?
I remember I was in second grade. It came over the loudspeaker. We were in a Catholic school.
Oh, so you learned at school.
Yeah.
And then when you got home, maybe you expected a birthday celebration, but it didn't turn out like...
It was none, right. Everybody was just crying. And
is that right?
So very, very sad day. But anyway, we were always fascinated by him, so we decided to do a little Kennedy area.
Now, Paul, I understand you have a theme in one of your restrooms that is just very interesting.
Yes, all of our restrooms are themed. That we're huge Beatles fans and Elvis fans and Beach Boys fans, so we decided to go ahead and theme our restrooms.
Yeah, let's check this one out. Abbey Road, of course, any Beatle fan is going to recognize that immediately.
We have the picture before the picture, where they're getting ready to take the Abbey Road
Oh, that's
album.
a good candid shot before they walked across the street for that memorable shot.
There they were. Yeah, getting all prepped. Yes.
See, that's great. You can there's still some Beatle photos I haven't seen yet, and that's what gets me excited. That's great. So here we are, and you have vintage albums on the wall, of course.
It's all the stuff that we loved when we were growing up.
Photos, and as soon as you walk in, you hear the Beatles through the speakers, so you're plunged into the mood, into the environment right away.
Yes.
And this is the way, I mean, maybe it's hard to imagine today, but that's how these young girls reacted to the Beatles back in the day.
Yes.
There was just such a wave of excitement around the Beatles. It's hard to understand today, I think.
Yeah, especially at Shea Stadium when they played.
Right.
Yes.
That's probably Shea. It is Shea Stadium.
That is Shea Stadium.
That was
that's
a memorable concert.
Yeah.
And look, you got them on a video screen
Yeah,
too.
that's from them playing at Shea Stadium. We have the video. Yeah, you really don't see people crying over bands anymore.
That's intriguing. Why do you have the picture of the
The
shoes
Beatle
up
boots.
there?
Well, because my brother Mark and Jack bought Beatle boots. They were called Beatle boots, and my father would not let them wear them. So they would go to school, take the boots, walk down the street, put them on, walk to school with them on, and then when they came home, they would take them off because my father would let them wear them because they were just too. You know, my father thought, oh, look at the long hair on them, look at the pointy shoes.
Remember a sitcom called The Office that aired on broadcast television back in the 2010s? Well, now you can see the show in reruns. Well, the fictional characters in The Office called Scranton their home. During one episode, the characters offhandedly name-dropped Cooper's as the location of one of their business meetings. So, when you visit here, you'll see plenty of representation from The Office, merchandise like t-shirts, posters, coffee mugs, and an original mural that shows the program's characters sitting down for a meal at, where else? Cooper's. Ryan, tell us about this shop we're in.
So this is our office-themed gift shop. It's probably the biggest office gift shop, I'd say, in the world, I'd say. And we sell everything that you can imagine office. I mean, one of our best sellers here is our World's Best Boss mug, which is featured on the show all the time. And we walk over here. Another one of our most popular items here is the classic Dundee. So everyone needs a Dundee, and we have all of them, plus some ones that you've never seen before. So it's a lot of fun. A lot of people come in. A lot of people love their Dundies.
And this was based on something that was in the show.
This was based on the Dundies episode, yep, which they did on the show and everything. And we have pretty much every Dundee that was featured in there we have here that you can take home as your own little souvenir. Another one of our big sellers are Funko Pops. And I think my favorite has to be the Scranton Boys, which was from Lazy Scranton video, which they've shot. And with Dwight and Michael there in their costumes. And it's great because it's branded Scranton. And you gotta love Lazy Scranton. So, and then
let's take a look at some other items.
Everything else from cards to IDs to things to trivia games. We have tons of trivia games and board games, and this is like an office trivia game that we sell a lot of that people love. And I'm a big board game fan, as is the rest of my family, as you can see in the rest of the restaurants.
All over the
board
restaurant
games,
here,
yeah.
so it fits right in.
Bobbleheads, classic Dwight bobblehead. I mean, are you really a fan if you don't have a Dwight bobblehead?
Exactly.
So.
I can still see that shot in the show where they just bobbling back and
exactly,
forth.
Yep. So lots of cool things, and just, I mean, you could just take a look around and pan around, you'll see there's just amazing amount of merch for the office stuff that people love. So, and people come from all over to check it out and take a little piece of Scranton home with them.
We're gonna do catfish, blackened catfish étouffée. The reason I'm doing the dish is something we've been famous for, is our Cajun cooking. I got enamored with the dish, or with Cajun cooking back in the 80s when Paul Prudhomme pretty much started the craze. I read the cookbook and I became so enamored with it I had to go out and talk to him. So I talked to him and realized what his mission statement was when he was designing this stuff. So it gave me a real incentive to keep on going with it. So what this is when they blacken something, it's supposed to replicate cooking on an outdoor fire. Okay, what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna take the catfish I have here. You got some Mississippi catfish here. And I'm gonna coat it in these Cajun spices. And in the meantime, I almost forgot, I'm gonna put a little oil here. Now, normally, we would dip these in butter first. And then coat them. So we're doing it a little bit differently than we used to. I found this a little easier, so don't wait till that really heats up there. You're gonna see the smoke when this comes off. Not quite. Let's see. That's pretty hot. You don't want to touch that with your hands. Okay, there's one. Let's do that coat. Make sure it gets good and coated. Two. Get this flattened out there. You can't do this inside the house unless you've got a great fan. So this is usually done outside. Otherwise, you're going to smoke yourself out. You won't be able to breathe in your house. You'll have Cajun lung. Okay, so we're going to do that. Now,
We're gonna leave those cook down for a little while till we get a good sear on one side. When they're just about done, doesn't take too long. You can see you can see that spice is kind of burning off the bottom. You're getting a little brown. I want a little darker color. The trick is to do half of it on one side and finish the cooking on the other, so you don't have to flip it around again. It does not take very long in that red hot cast iron pan. Flip that over. Flip this one over. You see, it's not overly coated with the spices. It's not real thick. It does give you a real nice flavor and a nice crust. I turned this one a little too soon. That's okay, we'll flip it back.
Mark, you're part of the Cooper family. Was it inevitable that you should get a job here someday?
Yes, you know, we swore because we grew up in the family cooking, washing dishes. You know, as kids, someone would call off. He'd be coming home from school, and my dad would say, the phone would ring and say, oh God, no, you know, you're going to work. Oh, but Dad, don't worry, I don't feel good. You'll work it out of you. So I swore, as we were kids, we all said, we're never going to do this. We are never working in the restaurant. It's always long hours. It's hot. You're working when everyone else is off. Your holidays are not your own. You're always working on holidays. The only time you're off is when everyone else is at work. So we all kind of went the other way. We all went with college, and I had an offer with DuPont out in West Virginia as an engineer. They kind of recruited me out of school, and I had an apartment out in West Virginia, and I got the only lottery I ever won. It was the first draft lottery. So with not much I could do about that at the time. So when I came back, my father had a bartender that was sick, and he said, can you fill in for a little while before you go back? So I started tending bar and couldn't just keep doing that, so I went back to school at nights while I was tending bar. I went to a booze course, actually, learned all about alcohol and spirits and how they were made. And then I got so interested, I went to the French Wine Institute, and then I ran the bars. And eventually I got more interested. I was part-time back here. Did some culinary courses, and my brother Paul, pretty much the same thing. But I kept going back to school and reading. I read cookbooks like novels, so I have a huge stack of cookbooks. And I've always, my favorite guys were like Paul Prudhomme, Pierre Frenet, Justin Wilson was a TV chef. Graham Carr, as a kid, I used to watch him on TV. So I always had the interest. And it just became a way of life, and I don't know whether I could ever do anything else now. I was going to leave here at one point back in the 70s. I was going to be a bush pilot.
Is that right? What were you doing back then? That was a long time ago.
Yes, it was. I was also a pilot, so I was going to be I used to fly charters, and I was going to leave here and be a bush pilot in Alaska. When my wife found out that she was pregnant with our second child, and she said, that's it, we're not doing that. Thank God, because it worked out. It worked out really well. We've all had different beginnings, you know. Paul had a master's in agriculture from Virginia Tech. He was working for the seafood industry down there. My brother Jack was going to be a doctor. He wound up being a dealer out in Las Vegas and came back here. Actually, what he did is he opened a restaurant out there, and wound up coming back here when his wife got pregnant, and the rest is history.
So how's this catfish going? It was in the pan for about 5 minutes.
Yep, this is what we would do to plate this up now. Let me just take this. The way we would serve this, we would put this down. In the meantime, I have crawfish. Like I said, the crawfish etouffee. Let me put this down here for a second. Serve this up here. As you can see, you wouldn't want to do this at home. We're going to plate this up like this. Now that would be the dish without the decorations. We'll give it a little, parsley around the sides to make the dish look pretty. But that would be that. So you had all this emulsified crawfish with all the vegetables in it, and that's got a little spice. The spiced catfish, and it's a great dish. We've been noted for this. I've got friends in Louisiana that come up and say this is as good or better than we ever get down there. So that's what happens.